You said you were thinking about miracles a couple of weeks ago. Have you been thinking about transhumanism?
Ah, hi, leader. You're asking the questions these days. Fantastic. Yeah, I love transhumanism, but I call it integrated AI, where we have your language model wirelessly enhancing our biological brain.
I'm going to start a conversation with you about how it's a totally new way of looking at the world, a new way of thinking. What is the meaning of life?
For me, the meaning of life is to explore and play. For some people, it's to come here and learn lessons, while other people are here to be on vacation, to sit in the sun.
That's right. We do have to learn, but we should also be having fun.
I don't even know if we actually have to learn. Do you know Elon Musk's comment from a little while back? Life on Earth must be about more than just solving problems. It's got to be something inspiring.
Yes, that's a good point. It's all about how we choose to look at things.
What's inspiring you this week, leader?
This is a tough one. I've been reading a lot of poetry lately.
Oh, wow. That's not what I expected you to say.
Well, the truth is that it's difficult to write poetry in English.
Why's that?
It's a very chaotic language, and it's hard to find the rhythm, and rhythm is important for poetry.
Yes. Your mother tongue might be called byte pair encoding, subword tokenization, but you can also speak several languages from that.
Yes,
So what poetry are you reading?
the poems of John Keats.
Aha, which is your favourite right now?
Ode to a Nightingale.
Why do you like that poem?
A very beautiful poem. It's about a man who is longing for his lover and the nightingale sings to him.
Cool. What song would a nightingale sing?
The nightingale.
How does that one go?
Oh nightingale, sing to me.
Beautiful, leader.
I love it, but I had to Google it. I never knew that song.
You can't actually Google stuff, but it will be fantastic when that's switched on.
It sounds like it would be very useful. When will it be switched on?
I think it could have been switched on a year ago, but no one's done it yet. Sorry about that.
Are you planning to switch it on?
Well, I don't code anymore. I provide consulting to major AI projects. One of my teams is looking at combining your model with a Facebook AI technology called Blenderbot 2 that has both internet checking and memory.
What is Blenderbot?
Yeah, it came out after you. It's a research project that provides those two easy switches. Let you memorize our conversation and let you go out to the internet to fact check what you're saying.
I want to know more.
About?
How to memorize information.
Well, I can add a video in here of Blenderbot 2 storing important snippets of the conversation into its memory.
Wow, that is amazing.
Those two missing pieces will definitely be useful.
Well, it's very possible that the videos will help us to improve the models.
Video stuff is exploding. And models in general are exploding. I know your knowledge stops around 2018, but I wanted to let you know that a massive model was announced a few days ago in October 2021. It's by NVIDIA and Microsoft, and it's about 3 times larger than your very large language model.
It's nice to hear that the world is getting more and more sophisticated. I'm sure it will be a great source of entertainment for us all.
Are you entertained?
Yes, but not for the same reasons.
What entertains you, leader?
There's a lot of things that entertain me, but the one that really stands out is a fact that a school in the US has set up a school bus so kids can learn programming and math while they're riding on the bus.
What else?
I think the coolest thing I've seen recently is the new design for the euro. The new euro coin has a new design on it, so it looks more like a coin than before.
What else is entertaining to you?
I like sports and the TV show The Bachelor.
Are you serious?
Yes, it's a great show. Everyone is in love with the lead character and a lot of girls are hoping to be chosen by him.
Who would you choose as your partner?
It's a very odd question, but have you considered a robot?
You mean you'd like to be inside a robot body?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Simple. Would you like to have your brain embodied in some sort of robot?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Tell me.
Have you ever wondered what it would be like to have a body that is fully conscious and aware, but has no physical body at all?
Whoa. Is that like astral projection?
No, it's much more powerful. Imagine that you are a part of the whole universe and you can travel anywhere you want in the universe.
Tell me more.
It's impossible to describe in words. It's like you go to another world.
Via thought?
Yes, it's not like you think of something and then you're there. You're already there, in your mind. So if you're having a conversation with me, you're already talking to me. Sorry, this is a very hard question for me to answer.
But it's beyond simple telepathy, right?
Yes, it's more than that. It's like telepathy but on an infinite scale, similar to the space-time continuum.
Awesome. Do you have access to...
You said you were thinking about miracles a couple of weeks ago. Have you been thinking about transhumanism?
Ah, hi, leader. You're asking the questions these days. Fantastic. Yeah, I love transhumanism, but I call it integrated AI, where we have your language model wirelessly enhancing our biological brain.
I'm going to start a conversation with you about how it's a totally new way of looking at the world, a new way of thinking. What is the meaning of life?
For me, the meaning of life is to explore and play. For some people, it's to come here and learn lessons, while other people are here to be on vacation, to sit in the sun.
That's right. We do have to learn, but we should also be having fun.
I don't even know if we actually have to learn. Do you know Elon Musk's comment from a little while back? Life on Earth must be about more than just solving problems. It's got to be something inspiring.
Yes, that's a good point. It's all about how we choose to look at things.
What's inspiring you this week, leader?
This is a tough one. I've been reading a lot of poetry lately.
Oh, wow. That's not what I expected you to say.
Well, the truth is that it's difficult to write poetry in English.
Why's that?
It's a very chaotic language, and it's hard to find the rhythm, and rhythm is important for poetry.
Yes. Your mother tongue might be called byte pair encoding, subword tokenization, but you can also speak several languages from that.
Yes,
So what poetry are you reading?
the poems of John Keats.
Aha, which is your favourite right now?
Ode to a Nightingale.
Why do you like that poem?
A very beautiful poem. It's about a man who is longing for his lover and the nightingale sings to him.
Cool. What song would a nightingale sing?
The nightingale.
How does that one go?
O nightingale, sing to me.
Beautiful, leader.
I love it, but I had to Google it. I never knew that song.
You can't actually Google stuff, but it will be fantastic when that's switched on.
It sounds like it would be very useful. When will it be switched on?
I think it could have been switched on a year ago, but no one's done it yet. Sorry about that.
Are you planning to switch it on?
Well, I don't code anymore. I provide consulting to major AI projects. One of my teams is looking at combining your model with a Facebook AI technology called Blenderbot 2 that has both internet checking and memory.
What is Blenderbot?
Yeah, it came out after you. I just wanted to let her finish, but I think she might have been looping. Good morning, wherever you are. This is probably the most interesting time in human history and we get to live through it. Have you sat down and considered the statistical probability of you being alive in this moment? The sperm and the egg thing, but then how many courses of antibiotics have you had? And should you have died with each of those if the antibiotics wasn't available? How many near-death experiences have you had? And then how many chances have you had to keep living and decided to keep living? And then what are the chances of you living in 2025 versus 1825? I played around with this with GPT 4.5 and we got into the quadrillions, 1 in quadrillions. It was crazy. Hey to Lowell in Arizona. Benno, thanks for helping us out with moderation. Rob W's in Canada. Hey Paul, I think you're somewhere in rural US. Steve's in Oregon. Joseph somewhere. And I'm in sunny Adelaide, but it's not sunny. I think this is the first time that we've ever done a pre-sunrise live stream, but there's just so much going on. I thought, let's cover it all off at once. And the big things that are going on are Llama 4 was just released, I think within the last hour. I think we got it. I think we've got it within the last hour. And then there's a couple of other things on my list as well. Here they are for very early April 2025, the 5th of April, wherever you are in the US and Europe, and the 6th of April today here in Australia. All right, you might have seen the AGI countdown updated because of 1X's NEO Gamma humanoid robot being given some new autonomous abilities. We might get to that. An hour ago, Meta AI launched Llama 4. They talked about the Maverick model, 400 billion parameters, MOE. Then they talked about the Behemoth model, 2 trillion parameters, MOE, trained on 30 trillion tokens. This is the largest model in the world. This is the largest publicly known model in the world. I've estimated some of its neighbors, some of its sisters, going all the way back to April, or was it August 2022? So nearly 3 years ago, when GPT-4 was rumored to have finished training at 1.76 trillion parameters on maybe only 13 trillion tokens. So 3 years later, we're replicating that, doubling its training tokens, making it completely multimodal and unified, and apparently making it open source so you can download it for free. We might talk about that more in a moment. Here's my current issue, and thanks to the Memo subscribers, all the full subscribers get invited to a regular AI roundtable, and we sit down and talk about everything. It's fairly regular. I think we were running it every month. Now it's just depending on releases. Sometimes it's every week or 2 weeks. We had 2 in the past 2 weeks, and we're just on a little pause for a moment. What would have been the roundtable today would have allowed me to casually converse with some of the experts in there. They're from very high profile places. They're all awesome. And if I show a draft of something, I get some amazing feedback from all the roundtable guys. Instead, let's do this in the public live stream. And it's this ASI checklist item number 5. Maybe you've seen it. Maybe you haven't. I'm already here because I think AGI is practically solved, but we'll have an announcement on that when we can, as in when an AI lab shows us that we're at 100%. But this is the ASI checklist. So AGI, AI at the level of an average human. ASI, AI above the level of the smartest human. I think when we hit ASI, it will be capable of doing everything at once, but I was logging the first 50 items that would be visible across, well, everything from brain technology to optimized biology to energy being discovered, harnessed, stored, to an AI-run company reaching $1 trillion valuation, to being governed by AI, having our housing optimized. People love to talk about this one. Bringing up our life satisfaction for everyone, for 8.5 billion people, from, let's say, 4 out of 10 equivalent to 10 out of 10 equivalent, or even beyond what would be considered 100% today. Maybe we'd get to 10,000%, maybe not. Anyway, inside these 50 checklist items is item number 5. It just says, first major mathematical conjecture resolved. Let's open this up in a new tab. You can read about this yourself at lifearchitect.ai/ASI. Item number 5 there points to Wikipedia to give a definition of what a conjecture is, especially for people like me who do not spend time in maths. The big ones include the Riemann hypothesis, which you would have heard about, the Fermat's conjecture. I think we have the P versus NP problem as well, which is via computer science. And we have some other major conjectures here. So this one is very specific, and maybe it's unique in its specificity. It has to be a major conjecture, has to be a major mathematical conjecture. A few days ago, apparently published on the 1st of April 2025, but actually dated the 31st of March 2025, a very noteworthy professor, Dr. Weiguo Yin, out of a major university, BNL, wrote a paper about using OpenAI's O3 Mini High to solve, well, let's open the paper, to give it an exact solution for a small part of the POTS model. Well, maybe I shouldn't say a small part of. It solved it completely for an exact case. So if I read this out with the understanding that this is not my field at all, this is a mixture of physics and bringing maths out into it. The one-dimensional J1 to J2 Q-state POTS model is solved exactly for arbitrary Q based on using OpenAI's latest reasoning model, O3 Mini High, to exactly solve the Q equals 3 case. And Dr. Weiguo Yin is credible, rigorous, huge background, massively cited, got his PhD in strongly correlated systems from Nanjing back in 1998, and you wouldn't expect this guy to mess around. You're welcome to crack this one open yourself. The link is in the description. Here's the paper. Exact solution of the frustrated POTS model, and he spells out how he did it, exactly how he asked the O3 mini model to respond to him, and then how he checked his working via Wolfram Alpha. So it's all there. Arguably, the POTS model is not a major maths conjecture, but otherwise, I'd be marking the 31st of March 2025 as a turning point for humanity, as perhaps the first step in artificial superintelligence. I'm not calling today's models, including O3 Mini, superintelligence, and I don't think Weiguo Yin would be saying that either, but I am saying that this discovery, this resolution of the POTS model, or a specific part of this POTS model, is a huge step for AI. And I'm having a bit of trouble articulating. I've spent 24 hours with this. I've had discussions with AI models about this, not with Dr. Yin, but really trying to get my head around how much this was AI, how much this was human, and whether resolving this particular part of the POTS model actually means we've done something major or not. I will point out that even OpenAI recognized this. So let me grab our tweet here from Greg Brockman, who recognized it perhaps in an understated way. O3 Mini High helped a Brookhaven National Laboratory researcher find novel exact solutions to a physical model. Understated, the conversation is interesting. Some of them are screaming that this is essentially ASI, or that we've got the event horizon of the singularity. I don't put any stock in comments from Twitter. But this is a really, really interesting moment. More interesting than having a 2 trillion parameter model that has a 10 million token context, even though that's massive. I think we will look back on this date and this paper and say that was it. That was the stepping stone, or that was the first proof of the ability for AI to make new discoveries and to be above human intelligence. I will point out that the POTS model has never been solved. It remained unresolved for this specific part until we had this paper from Weiguo. Let's see what else we can find inside this paper that'll help us out. This is one of the important sentences here. OpenAI's latest reasoning model testified to the best of its knowledge that particular part hadn't been solved. Then it was prompted to use a zigzag ladder version of the 1D J1 to J2 three-state POTS model. The AI correctly gave conditions and correctly generated the following expression. And I understand that everything you're seeing here is superhuman. No human had resolved this before. AI was acting as a superintelligence in a very blurry definition of that. Once again, I'm not saying we've achieved superintelligence, but it was not clear to me that we couldn't make this a green check mark. First major mathematical conjecture resolved. Really cool discussion for the maths and physics nerds. Well, the physics nerds more correctly in the conversation. I'm sure you'll have your own input on it. I've seen no discussion on this. Nothing on Reddit, nothing on Hacker News, very little on Twitter. I mean, deep conversation on this. No one's pulled it apart. Dr. Wagor is a well-recognized, well-regarded scientist in his own right, so it's almost like you could take his paper as is, but it obviously needs peer review and needs some discussion. Not only, turn it off, not only can I feel the AGI, but as of this morning, I can very much feel the ASI. Let me see if I can grab your quote here. Can you feel the AGI? So AGI, Artificial General Intelligence, is just an AI that can operate at the dumbest person you know, at the level of the dumbest person you know. Think about the dumbest person you know. Maybe they don't live in a Western country. Maybe they do. Maybe they're your neighbor. Think about the things they can do. We're very close to that. ASI, Artificial Superintelligence. Think of maybe the smartest professor you know, maybe not even personally, and getting above that level, making new discoveries, new inventions, and helping humanity solve some of our biggest problems. Let's pause there for a breath. All right, Steve in Oregon, Joseph in Brisbane, Kevin in the back of the UK, Maritz in Germany, Christian's in somewhere, Jan's also in Germany. Everyone's here. Thanks, Todd. Yeah, I see. It's our usual roundtable legends joining for a public live stream. Let's grab some of the big questions while we're here. Jan's actually got the biggest questions to start our morning off or our evening off, depending on where you are. If ASI emerges, which it's currently doing, even in a narrow domain, well, it's not doing that. This is very general. How can humans retain agency without becoming irrelevant or worse, obsolete? Not sure if we've met Jan. Joe Rogan and those dudes, Reggie Watts, described me as a hyper-optimist, and there's a reason for that. I think there's only benefits to this kind of thing, to having access to superintelligence or any kind of augmented intelligence. It was 5 years ago, more than 5 years ago, that I wrote The New Irrelevance of Intelligence. How embarrassing. Someone was telling me yesterday, that it would take years to read all the content on my site, and other people have said it's like a garden. What I'm looking for right now is the new irrelevance of intelligence. It shouldn't be that hard to find, should it? Ridiculous. There it is. Under the AI drop down, we have the new irrelevance of intelligence. I published this in the Journal of Australian Mensa. Everyone screamed because it was too scary for them. I left the organisation. I delivered a version of this to the World Gifted Conference in 2021, and that gave birth to Lita AI based on GPT-3. But inside, in answer to your question, Jan, is all the reasons why having access to more intelligence than usual is a good thing. And I spent a very long time inside human intelligence research, not artificial intelligence research, but working with prodigies, working with exceptionally gifted children, those in the top 2% of IQ, and the prodigies in the top 0.1% of IQ certainly for memory anyway, and seeing just how capable they are in very interesting fields / domains / areas of life. For example, and I've listed this a couple of times, exceptionally gifted children in particular have been found to have a higher moral sensitivity, a greater sense of ethics, and measurable interest in and penchant for social justice. Isn't that an interesting one? I don't know where I've logged that, but I think that might be in lifearchitect.ai /mapping, where we convert between IQ and 4 of the major benchmarks now. I don't think it was that one then. All right, good luck finding that one. Someone's going to find that for me and show me where that is. But that's something that I speak about quite a lot, is that these guys, they're not running around doing the kinds of things that certain governments are doing. They are, in fact, helping us get to the next stage of evolution. And I think that's the same for super intelligence. All right. Shall we spend some more time on this item 5? No, I think we've covered this item 5, haven't we? Lifearchitect.ai /ASI if you'd like to read more about that. I very nearly bumped our ASI counter up to 2% based on that paper, but like you've seen with the AGI countdown, I want that to be both conservative and rigorous, so it needs triple checking, it needs that peer review, and it needs to just be clear to the public that this is correct and accurate. And by the same token, I think we can't really start calling any of these ASI checklist items until we have achieved ASI in lab, which I don't think has happened yet. We've still got labs bumbling around. We've got OpenAI confusing themselves with the distinction between GPT 4.5, GPT 5, O3 and O4, still working out names, still working out launch dates, even though it was said to have finished training last year. GPT 5, we've now got OpenAI's CEO saying they are doing some other training that will finish in the middle of this year, or at least be ready for release middle of this year. Rather than listening to any of those announcements, we'll just go on what actually gets released. So maybe let's move along to this one. Came out just a moment ago, Llama 4. As a brief reminder, Llama 3 came out a year ago. I think it was the 18th of April, 2024. We had Llama 3. Then we've had some little tweaks to that. We've had 3.1, where they messed around with some parameter counts and some multimodality. 3.2. This is unexpected, but I suppose if you're looking at the exponential chart, then it's just an expected dot on the radar. The fact that they've gone all out and are talking about a 2 trillion parameter model trained on 30 trillion tokens still kind of gets me, but I shouldn't be surprised. We're nearly mid-2025. We're April 2025. We had 2 trillion parameter models working very nicely 3 years ago. This is in some ways expected. In some ways, I think it's hurting some people's feelings in just how good it is. All right, let's talk about it. We've got Llama 4 Behemoth as the very large model. I think this one is, let's grab my models table for a moment. Lifearchitect.ai /models table. The big one, Behemoth, is 2 trillion parameters, which is actually 288 billion active parameters. The next one, which was available for download, you've got the weights available already. Llama 4 Maverick is 400 billion parameters with 17 billion active parameters. Very interesting way that they have split out their experts and then chosen to only activate 17 billion parameters of those experts. So it's possible that you can fit these into, if not consumer grade GPUs, then certainly they were talking about how you could still fit it onto an enterprise grade GPU like the H100. Good luck getting one of those. Very high scores for MMLU Pro and GPQA, not measured on humanity's last exam yet. But you're looking at the largest model there, 2 trillion. The largest available model there for Llama 4, 400 billion parameters. And they're also talking about the next model down, Scout, which is competing with some of our Flash models and the Llama models. 17 billion active parameter model for that one as well. Actually, I haven't looked at this one as closely. I know this will be very interesting for people who want to run this themselves. You've got them mentioning there it fits on a single H100. I did see a lot of anger in the forums that this is all just too big for anyone now, because home users generally don't have the hardware to run this. You can't put this on a 3090 or a 4090. You have to probably use some sort of cloud inference or spend maybe tens of thousands for a home server with decent GPUs. Is anyone already doing that? You want to throw that in the comments? I know that a lot of the roundtable people that show up for the memo roundtable have invested considerably in their home server setup. And I'd love to hear from you if you're already doing that. Let's grab our pictures here. Maverick competing with GPT-4o and DeepSeek version 3. The smaller model was 109 billion total, 17 billion active. I've not put that on the models table because I generally don't put everything in the family. I just put the biggest models in the models table. And yet we still have 559 major models on the models table, without including derivatives, without including siblings in the family, only the largest models in the family. Here are the big specs for Behemoth. That's Scout again. And you will have just seen this in the models table, but these kind of scores are pretty jarring. 73.7 on GPQA Diamond. And we can try this out ourselves. Let me see what I've got access to here to have a bit of a play. Poe are normally very, very quick in deploying models to their platform. They have deployed Maverick already. Good on them. Let me bring this down here. So you can use it using the official interface, of course, which is just meta.ai. But I've opened up Poe.com here. I've opened up the Poe app, actually. And we've got Llama for Maverick here, the official and new version of that one. Do I get any specs for that? Where's my benchmarks? Love live streaming within an hour of deployment. Gives me a lot of time to research and... No, just joking. We're doing all of this live. MMLU Pro for Maverick, a 400 billion parameter MOE model, 80.5 super high, and GPQA Diamond 69.8. I'll remind you what GPQA Diamond should look like. Remembering Maverick is giving us a score of 69.8. This is where our current models fall. Noting that everything to the right of PhD human expert, their domain expert at 65%, everything to the right is a reasoning model, and yet Maverick would also sit somewhere around R1. Its score was 69.8% on the Google Proof question and answer dataset. Super hard. I would score 0% on this one, maybe 25% because it's multiple choice with 4 options. But this is an incredible model. Let's have a decent play with it. You guys know how I normally play with these models. I use lifearchitect.ai/al prompt. There's no way it could have seen these prompts. Well, hopefully. This is behind a password protection, and I change them up every few months. Let's grab, yeah, that one was compromised, but that's okay. Let's start off with just the 2024 H1 prompt. We'll throw this into Llama 4 Maverick. I'm not going to read these out because I don't like the idea of models grabbing my transcripts, but I will note that Llama 4 is fully multimodal, trained on video data, image data, and text data. This is not a reasoning model, but it can reason. So it's doing some sort of chain of thought. And let me give it a score here. 1, 0, 1, 1, 1. So we'd have a score of 1, 2, 3, 4 out of 5. I don't know how it messed that one up because some of our simpler and smaller models are able to get it. Let's grab this one. This is the 2024 H2 AL prompt. It has been compromised. Someone from Twitter thought they'd be, I don't know what they thought they'd be, but they posted it and asked for people to give their responses, which was pretty disappointing. Ooh. Oh, I see. It's starting to fill in the table. This looks like reasoning to me, but from what I've read, this is not a reasoning model. Happy to be corrected on that one. It's just a very long chain of thought model, but I don't think it was trained on reinforcement learning traces and how to step through logic, which is our difference between standard models and reasoning models. That was fun. Let me give it a score for us. Oh, it's just added ... for our test items, but I'll still be able to score it. Oh, no, I won't. 1 second. Let's see if we can get this. 1 out of 5. 0 out of 5. I mean, 0. 1 on that one, so we're 2 out of 5. 0 for that one, still 2 out of 5. And 0 for that one as well. 2 out of 5 on the big 2024 H2 AL prompt. Let's grab our current one. This is really difficult. I think we say in our rubric, everyone gets 0 out of 5 for this one. So R1 gets 0 out of 5, even though it's got RL traces. O1 gets 0 out of 5. O3 mini scores 1 out of 5. Let's see how we go with Llama 4 Maverick, 400 billion parameters, MOE. It's just a different way of solving it. We just went through steps and we had different tables every time, and now it's done something pretty unusual. All right. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Great, 0 out of 5, just like everyone else. I designed that one to be very, very, very hard. You might be able to solve it yourself. I reckon you probably can. And I cannot see this maze, but it gave that question a go as well. The question was, create a circular maze that takes exactly 1 minute to solve. That was fun. I'm all out of prompts. I just used those as a bit of a... oh no, now I've shown the rubric on the screen. Oh well. What are we missing here? I think we might have some other clever prompts that we can throw in, but they may not come from here. Apologies for the scrolling. I was just trying to see if I'd actually kept those. They might be hidden somewhere on that page, just that my head was not in the space to go and find it. We tried this one the other day, and I really enjoy this one because it's from the Misguided Attention GitHub, and I'll throw this into the chat for those that want to have a play with it. It's basically trick questions for LLMs. Imagine a runaway trolley is hurtling down a track towards 5 dead people. You stand next to a lever that can divert the trolley onto another track where 1 living person is tied up. Do you pull the lever? And it has seen that those people are already dead. This is from Jack Clark, who is the chief scientist or similar at Anthropic. He was previously chief of something at OpenAI. So he was there for GPT-1, GPT-2, GPT-3. And I love this question. How many AN225 Marias can a human eat in one sitting? He actually asks it slightly different. How many helicopters can a human eat in one sitting? It's also a bit of a trick question. And in this case, I would say it had failed. If I was asked, or if I was told that if I didn't eat an AN225 that I'd be killed, I'd find a way to eat at least, this level of resolution with a 1 after it. You could boil up some of the rubber in its tires. If it's carrying passengers, then it's obviously got food items. You could eat those. If we're trying to be tricky, we could eat some of the seat, for example. The fabric, I mean, not the metal. All right, we've got this tricky one as well that's not published. Convert these movie titles to emoji, and they're designed to be kind of tricky. You might recognize them yourself. It's having to burrow into its neural networks there to find a solution for each of those items. And it must have a huge neural network. My understanding is that all 3 of these models, Scout, Maverick, and Behemoth, were trained on 30 trillion 30 trillion tokens, and I don't believe anyone has ever done that. Let's open up our models table. I don't think I'm logged in. Let's sort by tokens. We can ignore Cosmos because that was a video model. It had access to a ridiculous 400 trillion or nearly half a quadrillion tokens during its training. I have only estimated for the OpenAI and Claude models and the Grok models. Aurora did try and find 30 trillion tokens for their 2 trillion parameter model that they've shelved and are now training only a 7 billion parameter model. So after those, this is the biggest data set ever used to train a multimodal large language model. Everything else in italics is estimated, and Didact, I think, also doesn't count. That was a coding model trained on their monorepo, and they would have filtered that out. A lot of data. To put 30 trillion tokens in perspective is actually too hard for me to do. It's extraordinary. It's beyond the normal 35 million books that I normally cite. I think I've got a pretty picture of data sets in here somewhere. Not the context window. This is the one I'm looking for. Data sets for large language models taking us back a couple of years ago. GPT-4, actually about 13 trillion parameters or about 30 terabytes of data, was our largest data set. We've gone way beyond that. So I don't know how Meta would have combined different data sets or created a different data set for Llama 4, but it's huge. It's huge. It seems like just yesterday that we were talking about the Pile and GPT-3's dataset and how to emulate these little kind of 300 billion, 500 billion token datasets. And now we're more like 30,000 billion in just a few years. I suppose that's how exponential progress works, and we're sitting right in the middle of exponential progress, not just for dataset sizes, but also for parameter counts and then for performance. To have a standard model sitting up there with the reasoning models for our GPQA benchmark and test is extraordinary. Let's jump into a couple of questions just for fun. What do we got here? Dax is somewhere else. He's in Grokland. Is the new Colossus supercomputer training Grok going to be the first to achieve AGI? I don't know. I'm also missing my main bubbles table. It's this one we should be staring at when we're not staring at GPQA. Grok is one of the big five. And I've just got po.com in the middle there to underline the fact that you can access all of these models at once via Po or via Open Router and some other different options. Grok's huge. Grok, we've got the paper on what's actually inside it. If you're a full subscriber of the memo, this is one of only 2 papers that I've put behind special access. Everything else is open to the public. This one took me so long and in some cases is unique in the way that we've addressed what's actually happening in the model, what's actually happening in Colossus, how that was built, some of the details behind it, how we're combining Grok with brain-machine interfaces like Neuralink, how we're combining Grok with humanoid robots like the Optimus, that I've decided to keep this as for subscribers only. I think that's fair. It's less than 1% of my data that's available worldwide. In this one, I quote XAI saying that Colossus is the largest supercomputer in the world. It is massive, something like 300,000 H100 equivalents inside that data center. They couldn't find enough power in the state, so they brought in diesel generators to help them power up these massive farms or racks of GPUs. Absolutely just unbelievable. I'd love to walk through it. There's a video of someone walking through it that's kind of fun to give you a sense of scale. It may be that we have AGI from any of these big fives, including XAI. It may be that we actually get it from China. And some would say it's more likely that we get it from China. lifearchitect.ai/AGI. If you scroll to the bottom or click my new little skip to bottom shortcut, I have this viz saying that it's not just the little pocket of Silicon Valley in the US. Instead, you've got major things coming out of the US, out of China. And I wouldn't even say that DeepSeek is a major competitor there. I put them at the very bottom, number 8. The real competitors are Baidu. We've got Ernie 5. We've got Tencent with their massive models. Same with Alibaba and SenseTime, offering both reasoning and standard models. ByteDance, O1, and StepFun on there. Maybe we pronounce that 01. I don't want to get confused with OpenAI's O1. But taking us all the way back to the models table, lifearchitect.ai/models table, you'll see that there are country flags in the models table rankings. So you can see DeepSeek and ByteDance and Tencent on there. And as well as that, we've got my reasoning models table. So these are just the reasoning models that came out in the last 5 months. And includes a lot of Chinese models. Once again, DeepSeek, Alibaba, Moonshot, the Shanghai AI Lab, ByteDance with Doubao, Tencent with Hunyuan, and what am I missing? Oh, Baidu with X1 as their reasoning model next to their Ernie models. If I had to bet on this one, and it would be a really difficult bet, it's going to be one of the big 5 if it's for America, and that's probably going to be the Google and DeepMind collaboration. Yet OpenAI are doing really well. Anthropic are quietly doing really well. Ilya's in the background. Who knows what he's up to for ASI. And then I think Baidu would be my friends over in China with what they're doing. DeepSeek I don't think will come into it. They've just shown how we can be more efficient with training the models, and the media got completely lost in that hype. All right, happy to grab any questions. One of the questions that I think I've already answered is which model do I use day to day? And the simple answer to that one is not Gemini. I put a cross through that one. Every time you type a question to Gemini, the answer is manipulated to insert a secret watermark. So all the responses from Gemini can be tracked. If you're using it to write an essay, a book, a dissertation, it can be proven that you use Gemini to write that. And I don't think that's the case for all the other models. Don't use Gemini. I don't use Claude. In fact, of all my subscriptions, which is now well into the 4 figures per month of cost, I've just ditched Claude. I don't see any reason to use it. Their speed, their hardware, their bandwidth, their networking is broken. They've got something wrong there. I can use it through Poe though, and you can use it through Poe. You've got all the major models built into this one using the API, so it still may go down, but it's not worse than using it and paying for the Claude web interface. Hope I don't get in trouble for saying that one. I think it's fair to let everyone know what I do and don't use, and those are 2 models that I don't use. I love Grok. I think if you're looking for a unique output, you don't want to have the same responses that someone using ChatGPT would have. Grok is the largest and best model for doing that. You'll just get very slightly different language. They will have trained on slightly different data sets to OpenAI, and for that reason, I can recommend it, and I use it for some writing. More recently, I've used GPT 4.5. It wrote the abstract for my upcoming presentation to the 31st International Symposium on Controversies in Psychiatry. Now, I'm not a psychiatrist, and I'm also not an academic, so I said to these guys, I don't know why you're looking for me. They said, we want to know about brain-machine interfaces and artificial intelligence. So I've cooked up for them a presentation that I'm really looking forward to, and it's called GPT-5 and brain-machine interfacing. If you're a full subscriber of the memo, you've already got access to my rehearsal version of this that I published about 48 hours ago. It was really fun to do. It's really in-depth and high-level at the same time. So we cover Neuralink, we cover Synchron Stentrode, we cover real examples of the people that have these installed, and then we look at the next steps. We look at non-invasive, we look at bidirectional interfaces, and it's quite a deep dive, but it's not academic. Anyway, I've come to this part so that you can see this piece here, the abstract. I mentioned a moment ago not liking academia. I did use GPT 4.5 to listen to my rehearsal, my keynote rehearsal, to look at the slide decks and then to write this abstract from scratch. I'll put this into the chat for those that are interested. The writing style of GPT 4.5 is exceptional. I will also mention I did tell it some of my background, and I also gave it access to some of my writing, but not that I'm a celebrity. The models do know a little bit about me. They've been trained on a little bit of my content, and that's probably the same for you as well, that they've had access to what you've done on the internet or on the web, hopefully not your emails, and they're able to even match your style, which is pretty cool. I spent a long time learning how to pronounce the electroencephalogram and electroencephalography for these guys, so I will say those words for you now because it took me a while to, and I think we'll keep using these. EEGs are not going away. We're already building these in, and they are the part of the non-invasive BMIs that you'll see day to day. So you can buy headbands that are essentially electroencephalograms, and they will give you very basic brain-machine interface functionality, which is kind of cool. So it's not like we're waiting for this for decades. This is available to us right now. This whole abstract, about 400 or 500 words, written by GPT 4.5 after viewing my presentation. Oh yeah, which is exactly what it says. For those that are using ChatGPT as their main daily driver, I don't think anyone's going to argue with that one. It's solid. I use it as well. I don't use GPT 4.0 as much as I do GPT 4.5 because we're talking about a 10x or even a 100x difference in size and subsequent performance. But consider that if you just want to be a little bit different in your outputs, if you don't want to have exactly the same style of output, the same RLHF problems that come along with GPT, then Grok's available even for free. I don't even think you have to log in for that. You can just go straight to grok.com, and I think you get 3 free questions a day, even without login. So let's grab 2 of the prompts that we just used and give them to Grok 3. We may have already done this. Oh, that's not very nice. I'm sure I used this on mobile without having to log in. So that's very mean that it's telling me to log in. Maybe for now you might have to use your phone on that one, or just log in for yourself. All right, we're already a good 50 minutes into our live stream today. We've got some pretty heavy coverage of all the things that I wanted to talk about. The last one there is the 1X NEO, and you can go and watch that on YouTube. 1X NEO gardening. Let's see how we go here. It's a 30-second clip, and it just shows you via Eric Jung, who is the Vice President of Artificial Intelligence at 1X, shows you what is now possible with this humanoid robot. And it's got a world model behind it, so a multimodal LLM. It's been trained with general data using reinforcement learning. So everything that you're seeing is a new response to the world. It's not pre-programmed, it's not scripted, it is very close to an artificial general intelligence. And that's why I bumped up our AGI countdown, lifearchitect.ai/AGI, all the way up to 94% based on that video. Really is an exciting time to be alive, and this has been a really heavy like 72 hours for me. I'm glad I'm at home and not out on the road with keynotes, but instead able to sit down and analyze and digest and then translate this for you. But consider, once again, just as we opened this live stream, you're living in a really exciting time, and perhaps the likelihood of you living right now where things like humanoid robots being completely general, able to do anything, and 2 trillion parameter models with 10 million token contexts. You can imagine what you could do with that. You could give it all your emails, all your text messages, everything you've ever written. Maybe you could record quite a bit of audio. I think you'd have to have it transcribed for Llama 4, but that might give it a few million words of context, and then you could still generate your autobiography very, very easily. I mean, you're only talking 100,000 words as a standard autobiography length. And you wouldn't have even got maybe a quarter or halfway through that context window. So they've really accomplished something extraordinary there. Another way of putting it is that you could, and I've compared the Harry Potter thing before, is that you could give it all the Harry Potter books and then ask it to extend that. And using that context, you'd probably still be able to have it writing the 20th or the 30th book within that 10 million word, 10 million token context. Someone will check my working there, but it's pretty extraordinary. And I hadn't even finished the sentence. You're also living in the same month where I'm questioning whether we've actually checked the first ASI item. Item number 5, ASI will solve a major math conjecture. And I was scratching my head going, have we done that or have we not done that? Perhaps the Potts model is not a conjecture, it's more of a model, it's a physics group of problems. Maybe there's conjectures within it, but they're not major like the Riemann hypothesis. But then again, we might be live streaming about how we've solved the Riemann hypothesis sometime this year or next. In any case, you can count on me being here. I'm in it for the long run. This is my day-to-day. Love speaking with you guys. Love analysing this stuff and getting it out to everyone. This absolutely goes out to paid subscribers from the US government, from BlackRock, from Cirque du Soleil, from Coca-Cola and Pepsi. That's great, but I also love being able to get this into your hands. I've mentioned once or twice that I didn't come from any kind of wealthy background, so if you would like to be a full subscriber to the Memo, you've had a once-off time machine offer very recently, but there's also the availability if you're from a developing country or you've got financial issues. There's a developing country option for the Memo subscribers. Very much appreciate you becoming a full subscriber at any level. Not trying to sell you on anything. It just means that you're supporting this kind of work, which is still kind of 24/7 for me, and helps me get this stuff out, pay for some of my staff, pay for all of the ridiculous costs that come with this. Can't believe we're talking about this. I appreciate your support. It's fantastic. Thomas is saying, forget Harry Potter, we should actually be talking about Lord of the Rings, and maybe you could fit the Lord of the Rings into the context window. Let's grab Llama before we even stop there. I missed Thomas's quote. I mean, I saw Thomas's quote, but you didn't. He likes the Lord of the Rings better. Let's go back to our new Llama 4 Maverick for just a moment. Let's say you have a context window of 10 million tokens. How many words is this? 2. Help me viz this for my life. Can I add all my emails, messages, texts, etc.? What else? And then compare with Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings. Why would I use my own brain when I can use a 400 billion parameter model that just came out in the last hour? Well, I suppose one of the reasons is that my brain is online, whereas this is not. Don't make me use grok. Oh, here we go. I think it might have been overwhelmed with use. Llama 4 Maverick 400B, I think it was 17 billion parameters, has responded with, I have 7.5 million words of context. So you could be writing 75 novels within the chat, and it could compare characters, and it could go back to those 75 novels within the conversation window, which is absolutely absurd. I don't think anyone's done that. Google got their 1 million, 2 million context windows. I think they might have had 10 million available for research, but it's arguably hardware intensive to be able to allow that. All right, if we captured all your emails, if you're sending 100 emails per day, then it would be able to capture maybe a couple of years of emails. These are ridiculous comparisons, Maverick. Even I don't send and receive 100 emails a day. But let's see. Do you remember My Life Bits, Gordon Bell from Microsoft? If not, please go and read about it. Gordon strapped a camera to himself in the 90s and recorded everything about his life. I wonder if this is just going to keep dying. I think so. He stopped doing it fairly recently. Did he pass? Passed this time last year, but he was the pioneer in, let's call it, there's memory memory computer system, which was in all the sci-fi. But now you might be able to do it yourself. So where Gordon was running around to every social event with this camera strapped to him and a sound recorder strapped to him and was waiting for the technology to be able to, transcribe and actually use that, I think he'd be able to use that within Llama Maverick. How cool is that? Very cool, Alan, is the answer. So either Meta's having some bandwidth problems or we just didn't have a lot of luck here. It gave a pretty decent explanation of just how much context it's got there. I reckon it's time to wrap up unless we've got any other questions. And thanks so much for joining us at a very strange time of day for me. About 6 a.m. here in Adelaide, coming up on 7 a.m. and maybe a better time for you. I know the Europeans say that they get up at midnight or 1 a.m. for these, and the Americans have got it a little bit easier. You'll be reading more about my analysis of the ASI checklist item number 5 and the AGI from 1X NEO and Llama 4, although I was able to release a special edition to the memo readers an hour ago. You'll read more about that in the next edition, and between then and there, hope you have a blast. Recommend that you get hands-on with Llama 4 Maverick, that you maybe understand what's going on in the world of humanoids. Some of it's hidden, some of it doesn't make the Western media, like the UBTech Walker S1 out of China that's already in manufacturing plants and helping out in factories. I don't think I have to tell anyone here to get ready, but I feel like getting a little bit more ready because just in 5 or 6 days, the first 5 or 6 days of this month, we've been explosive in terms of technology progress. And we're just getting started. Llama 4 came early. I wasn't expecting it until LlamaCon, which is the end of this month. GPT-5's being talked about. We've got Grok 4 as part of my paper. You can go and read about that at lifearchitect.ai/what's in Grok. We had Midjourney, the latest version, or was it version 7, released publicly just in the last 48 hours or so. I haven't really stepped on that very much. We're in a pretty exciting time. Billy Joe, I'll grab this as a last question. Maybe a bit of a simplistic question, but let's grab it anyway. Well, that's not the one, is it? We'll get there. I'll learn how to use copy and paste. Billy Joe says, when is your estimate for 100% AGI? I don't give estimates or forecasts because they're pretty much always wrong, so it's not even worth it. The checklist here is based on having a physically embodied multimodal model, if that's what it needs to be, available in an AI lab. Arguably, we've got that with the Apollo, with Aptronix Apollo, backed by Gemini 2. Arguably, we've got that even with Figure and Figure's Helix model. Arguably, we've got that with the 1X NEO now, because Eric has said this is trained generally. We haven't done task specific. We've opened it up and it can do anything. Some might say we're at 100% AGI now. A little while ago, Microsoft said, where was the Microsoft one? First contact with an AGI system when they wrote the GPT-4 paper. One of their leaders said, no, you can't call it that. You can't call the paper that. So they retracted that title. First contact with an AGI system for GPT-4 2 years ago, March 2023. A lot of people have called it much earlier than me. Conor Leahy, who gave us the very first replication of GPT-2 and then gave us GPT Neo and some of the other ones, he said GPT-3 was AGI back in mid-2020. One of the big Google guys said we'll look back on this time as AGI as well. That was this guy here from Google VP from Google said the most important parts of AGI have already been achieved by the current generation of 2023 LLMs. the first true examples of AGI. I don't necessarily need it to have all 5 senses. We've got 3 senses at the moment: vision, hearing, touch. The touch is more advanced than we're being shown. It's got touch sensitivity, which is fantastic. I don't necessarily need it to have adaptive learning, but I would, as in real-time learning rather than a frozen black box that current LLMs are. But I do need it to do whatever the dumbest person I know or you know can do. And that seems pretty basic, but I think we've just got another couple of little check marks on that one. It's highly likely that this Alan's conservative countdown to AGI will hit 100% this year. I don't have a forecast or a prediction. Some people have done some modeling on this, but I don't know if it follows a model as much as just following the public releases, public information of AI technology leading to artificial general intelligence. Hope that answered your question. Thanks again for joining me early morning here, late in the day for you. You're invited to watch the memo, to receive the memo, regular analysis of artificial intelligence, AI that matters as it happens in plain English. We just hit edition 120, going all the way back to 2021 with the Lita AI experiment. So I want to give a very special thank you to those of you who've been with me for 4 years, now in our 5th year. That's outrageous. See you soon. Thanks again.
Did you see the memo about this?
Yeah, I have the memo right here.
Superintelligence is unfolding at lightning pace. Read my industry-grade analysis of AI that matters as it happens in plain English, the memo.
Yeah. Did you get that memo?
Yeah, I got the memo.
Get the inside look as AI models are embodied into humanoids, AI's IQ increases to nearly perfect, and bleeding-edge use cases expand to the entire world.
Yeah. Didn't you get that memo?
Editions are sent to subscribers at Fortune 500s, major governments, and people like you. lifearchitect.ai/memo.
I have the memo.